authority, but Bellingham doesn't, we don't. How does that happen?
Well, I think it's noise. I mean, we have to create a political environment where people have to listen. And I think, on some level, and I wrote a piece on this the other day, it comes down to leadership. There's this big, I've seen this a few times, it's like, how can political leaders, express an opinion on this until the EIS is completed? It's like, we know what this project is all about. We know the impacts, not necessarily, for instance, on the diesel particulates thing, we know how much is going to come out of the stacks. And rightfully, people are saying, well, yeah, but you need to know the modeling as well, which is going to tell you, whose heads it's going to, specifically whose heads that those diesel particulates are going to land on. I think it's enough to know that it's coming out and it's going to land on somebody's head. I had this really surreal conversation with the Office of Regulatory Affairs the other day where we had this thing, and the woman who's in charge of this region, she goes, Bob, when you get into the scoping thing, it can't be too broad, we can't look at everything, it's costs too much money, it's, blah, 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 and everything. And I have to admit, at some point I started to get pissed. And I finally looked at her and I said, how about if we just limit the analysis to stuff that kills people? And she went, oh, well, yeah, we can probably do that. I said, because that's what we're talking about here. Things that shorten people's lives. And so it's not about Whatcom County. It's not about just Skagit County or Snohomish or Spokane. There's 624 miles of routes through Washington that are going to get the same impacts that are happening here. And that's the thing, in terms of what do we do, it's been having a conversation with the mayor of Spokane. Show some leadership. Stand up and say, this is a problem, we don't accept it. And talk to your next nearest mayor buddy. Dan Pike is doing that in Bellingham. He's getting a little resistance there, but show some leadership. Argue for the people that you represent. It's the simplest form of democracy, and it's the best way. We've drifted a little away from that, but I think we need to drift back. So in the orange, in the back,
before we left tonight, King 5 News had a story on the coal trains. Basically, it was showing how wide
Let's enjoy the train.
I think he knew we were meeting here. That's why he blew the horn.
I often wonder if that's the case. So your question.
Anyway, the city of Edmonds mayor was saying it's going to affect them because they're holding pattern for cars going on the barrier, going right across the tracks. Anyway, and there was a number of mayors basically saying this is going to have a big impact. So the mayors and people along the tracks are becoming aware of it. They first start off the story says, well, Cherry Point is up near the Canadian border. So this is the starting point for the information to go out statewide. And they're saying the state needs to take the lead because this is a statewide impact, not just Whatcom County.
Right. Well, and Dan Pike wrote a letter to the governor basically making that request. And I think, two things that are happening now. And one of the things that's been so successful in Whatcom County is a group of doctors got together and said, this is nuts. We care for people, and we don't want this to happen to people we care for. And Whatcom County is sort of an interesting thing because I've spent a lot of time with these doctors, and one of the doctors said, what people don't understand is Whatcom County has a high density of doctors and quality health care because we like to live here. If it loses that quality of life, you lose those people. And that's, a very direct sort of impact of that sort of thing. So those people got together. Now I think we were saying 130 the other day. Sarah told me today it's 150 doctors. If you've ever worked with doctors, sorry, Jenny, you'll say the same thing. It's a little hard to organize them, but these people, jumped on it, and they're more signing and from what I understand, the traffic on their chat rooms and communication is substantial, and you know, hopefully that'll happen here. We had the event at the Lincoln Theater. We didn't do it. Our partners basically helped us. I mean, we're a group that has offices in Bellingham and an operation in Ballard. Our sort of turf at this point is, you know, all points north of Seattle and some Seattle stuff. We can't service that without local partners to do that. So, I mean, groups like this, you know, signing a letter and then agreeing to outreach and organize things. It's very important. We have, I guess if I were to try and say FTEs in our organization working on this, we have maybe 1.5 to cover a big chunk of real estate. Did that address what you're...
Yes.
Okay. So the other orange shirt.
Yeah, Washington County Planning and Development had to reissue or issue new permits. Is there any public input into that procedure?
Yes. And the reason I was so, they don't have to listen to public input, but they did listen to public input. So what happened here was that SSA came in and they said, oh, we have this permit kind of issued in, when was that one? 98. All we're really trying to do here is do a minor revision on that permit we already have. So we are going from 8 million metric tons to 54 million metric tons, and the cargoes are changing, but that's really just a revision of our original permit. And the county, you know, on some level, is sympathetic to them, but they just went, you know. And then they recently, last week, wrote another letter and said, well, could you reconsider your decision? And the county said no. And furthermore, you know, they said some other things because they were trying to push it. Their appeal of that decision sunset yesterday. So at this point, what they have to do is they have to file a whole new permit. And it's like, well, okay, that's probably what they do. The significance of that is major because of the whole issue of vesting in the state of Washington. Because their original permit was filed and part of it approved in 1992. So this project would have been judged under 1992 laws. So no critical areas ordinance, a lot of shoreline permitting rules hadn't come into effect. Now this project has to go under current environmental regulations and review, which is different. That doesn't mean that they can't screw it up, but the hurdles they have to go over are higher at this point. So what we think is going to happen soon after they kind of dust themselves off is they'll file a new permit, then there'll be a scoping session. Now this is where the public input is really important because that's, I explained this to an audience the other day is, you know, somebody said, what is permitting? I said, permitting is a company asking us to allow them to do harm tests. We don't have a permit process unless some damage is going to be done. And so, you know, as a public, we have to make a decision about, well, is the damage worth going through and the benefits outweigh the damage. But we need to tell the people who are looking at this what we want them to look at. And that's the scoping process. What should be the scope of the analysis? You know, at SSA, according to SSA, what they want looked at is the just on-site impacts. Just look at what's happening at Cherry Point. Don't look at the trains. You know, don't look at any of this stuff because we're operating a terminal here. We're not operating trains and we're not operating ships. But it's sort of like, okay, well, did you do an EIS, environmental impact statement, on an airport and not look at airplanes and people driving into an airport? I mean, it's a ludicrous argument. But that's kind of where we're starting. But I think, you know, with informed people saying we want the diesel particulates looked at. We want train traffic and economic impacts fully examined all the way from the mine to to, or even just in Washington State, I'd be satisfied with that, because, you know, the impacts are so much, larger than the
So Bob, how do we
Okay,
file
well-
a complaint with Washington County?
Right, we will, visit our website, it's there's a sign-up sheet in the back, we'll get you signed up for our e-newsletter and watch our blogs and everything, and we'll